Things are gonna get crazy.
Most everyone's mad here.
Hello, people, and welcome back to another exciting episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. How are we all doing today, people? Hope you had a wonderful week and a great start to November, and hopefully daylight savings didn't fully mess you up. I know that technically it's only just an hour, but you would be surprised how 1 hour can make one big difference, especially when you set things back. And I wouldn't be surprised by the time that I am recording this, the sun will go and immediately be down. Like, it shall be completely dark when this episode will be over. But anyways, what I have for you today with this episode, oh boy, it really is gonna be a wild one. Not to mention a little bit of a controversial one as well, as we are gonna be diving deep into some controversies that happen on the internet that has some people freaking out. And I will be starting with something like that and will be ending with something like that. Before I do go start this, however, I just want to have a quick mention about the unfortunate passing of Bob Baker, a renowned filmmaker and the man who is known for being the writer of many beloved Wallace and Gromit projects, including A Close Shave, The Wrong Trousers, Curse of the Were-Rabbit, and A Matter of Loaf and Death. Unfortunately, he has passed away at the age of 82, so may Bob Baker rest in peace. I thought I would just go and quickly give a mention to him for this podcast. But anyways, now with that said and done, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, are you all prepared for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast? I hope so, because debatably nothing could really prepare yourself for some of the stuff that I shall be talking about. So, let me hear it. Are you all ready? Yeah, I just saw one comment up there. It was like, time to suck some dick. Like, excuse me? All right, so I see people are prepared. That is wonderful. And with that said, it is now time that we shall go and get things started. And with the first story that I have over here, I might as well go and begin with what is possibly the best news that came from last week, and that is the fact that now kids are starting to be approved to go and get vaccinated. Now it's going to be their turn that they could go and actually get the COVID-19 vaccine. And it started out with Pfizer, in which they did confirm that it is safe for their vaccines to be used on kids. And we are starting to see countries, including the United States, that are beginning to approve that they can go and deliver vaccines to children. So that is wonderful, and I couldn't be more excited to hear that, because now we got one more essential group of people that they can get vaccinated, and it will lead us to be one step closer to putting things back to normal, that we could quickly go and move on with our lives, but maybe a little bit different, hopefully with more vaccine mandates and more mask mandates here and there. But either way, like, it will be one step closer for us to getting back to normal and to recover from what we went through with this pandemic. However, in order to go and prepare for kids to be vaccinated, of course, many beloved characters would want to go and encourage kids to go and get vaccinated. And that is one current big mission that Sesame Street has right now. In fact, Sesame Street has actually teamed up with CNN, where Big Bird and Rosita would go and talk to some top professionals, some top medical experts, including Dr. Sanjay Gupta, regarding any questions and concerns that they would have for vaccines, so that they could go and educate kids about what is the vaccine, vaccine, why they need it, and what happens when they do get the vaccine. Not to mention also talking about that it's okay to be scared when getting vaccinated because, well, you are dealing with needles and some people are scared of needles. So that's perfectly fine. But the important thing is that you're doing something not just for yourself, but you're also helping out the community by getting this vaccine. However, considering that we are in a heavily politicized society and that even the vaccine, even the subject of science, medicine, and COVID has been so heavily politicized, not everyone is happy of the notion that Big Bird got vaccinated, especially when it comes to conservatives and the GOP. Yes, one of the big things that happened last week was that Big Bird would go and just casually put out a tweet mentioning that he officially got vaccinated. The tweet, just to read here from my source on NBC News, it quickly states, "I got the COVID-19 vaccine today. My wing is feeling a little sore, but it'll give my body an extra protective boost that keeps me and others healthy. Mrs. Erica R. Lil even says I've been getting vaccines since I was a little bird. I had no idea." All right, that is a nice tweet. And that is one of many tweets that Sesame Street actually did put out to go and encourage kids to go and get vaccinated themselves, and to mention that, yes, even the Sesame Street characters have been vaccinated. However, as a result of this tweet, this did end up triggering and upsetting a lot of conservatives and a lot of prominent conservatives as well. And even on this article did list a few notable examples of some of the triggered people that actually did go and full-on attacked Big Bird because of that tweet. Probably the most prominent example has to be Senator and insurrectionist Ted Cruz, in which he said, "Government propaganda for your 5-year-olds." There was also an attack coming from Lisa Booth of Fox News, in which she said, "Brainwashing children who are not at risk from COVID, twisted." And even an additional comment, and probably I would say is one of, if not the most tasteless of them all, has to be from Robbie Starbuck, who is a Republican that's trying to run for Congress, in which he actually made a joke that because Big Bird got the vaccine, he is going to die, by mentioning 7 days later, Big Blood Clot Bird is served. Yeah, which is not really that surprising that Republican politicians think it's funny that people would go and die from COVID. Yeah, like you could probably say that out of all the people out there, it's Republican politicians that are the least pro-life. And I don't mean on the subject of abortions, they just don't care about the lives of others. But yes, with all of these, and this is just a handful a handful of examples of just like these are some of the most prominent conservatives, by the way, that are upset of the notion that Big Bird just mentioned that he got vaccinated. Like if you would go onto, if you go on Big Bird's Twitter and you go on the tweet itself, you will actually go and scroll down and you will actually kind of find that there are just a bunch of people that would go and they would get upset of the fact that Big Bird would be, maybe not these. Yeah, show more replies. There we go. Just to go down. And I just realized, it's like by going down, it's like, what the fridge? These have nothing to do with Big Bird. But yeah, like you'll see like there have been a lot of positive ones, but like eventually you'll scroll down and you'll realize that, like there are going to be some people who would go and constantly attack Big Bird, and like like even though it is highly praised, it is the grand majority of people who are happy that Big Bird did get his vaccine. But then you'll have people like Ted Cruz that would go and attack Big Bird just because he mentioned that he got vaccinated and that he wants to encourage kids to also be vaccinated as well. Now, of course, as you guys probably know, this is not the first time that we would see conservatives or right-wing representatives or like prominent people in the right-wing circles that they would go and attack Sesame Street, regardless of what the subject may be. Like, you probably remember last year when they did the exact same thing when Sesame Street would go and try to educate children regarding racism during the height of the Black Lives Matter movement, trying to explain what the situation is going on. Why are people online and people are on the streets being so upset and talking about the issue of race? So they would go and educate people and educate kids about what racism is. And then, of course, you would get these right-wing pundits that are getting so mad and getting so triggered that they would go and like flat out attack Sesame Street. And like, we've seen this again and again and again. There is a long prominent history that I will get to a little later that Republicans would just flat out attack Sesame Street for just being themselves, honestly. And this is honestly at this point where I want to go and make a controversial statement, but considering the amount of attacks that these right-wing people, that people like Ted Cruz would do by attacking Sesame Street, it needs to be said, and really it needs to be called out. It's the fact that when it comes to right-wing people, I don't mean all Republicans and all conservatives. Like, yeah, the moderate ones are fine, but I mean the people who are in the far right. I mean the people who are literally fascists, authoritarians, nationalists, Confederates, Trump supporters, QAnon supporters, anti-vaxxers. When it comes to those groups of people, they hate Sesame Street. They just flat out despise Sesame Street in general. And the reason why I say that is because Sesame Street would go and educate children values that go completely against theirs. For over 50 years, Sesame Street takes pride in being the champion of educating children regarding tolerance, regarding equality, regarding inclusion, regarding these types of values that are completely the opposite of things like nationalism, authoritarianism, confederacy, and all those types of like far right nationalist minded ideologies. They go completely against that because Sesame Street is a lot more towards peace, tolerance, and accepting others for who they are, regardless of how different that they are compared to themselves, or even like speaking out against bullying, like calling out bullies, calling out prejudices, calling out attacks on people who are just different than them, regardless of their race, gender, sexual orientation, religion, or anything like that. Sesame Street takes pride in their education for inclusion. And no matter what the subject may be, you're always going to see the right to constantly go after Sesame Street. Well, more the far right, more than just the right, just a little bit for that clarification. And I'm not saying that because of how they are now. This is not because of how Trumpism is, like how Trumpism has heavily influenced conservatives to lean far more to the right, to the point where now they hate Sesame Street and they would constantly attack Sesame Street, even if it is something like going after Big Bird. No, this is something that they have done for a very long time, even ever since the beginnings of Sesame Street when they started. Like, you would see a lot of conservatives that would go and attack Sesame Street during the 70s just because they actually had the presence of black people interacting with white people, or especially with white kids, back when having black people on television was considered highly taboo, or having black people mingle with white people as well. Like, they constantly would go and do that. And not to mention, like, another very prominent example that I do have is back with the Ernie and Bert controversy. You probably remember somewhere in the late 2000s or in the early 2010s, somewhere around that area, when there was a big controversy regarding Ernie and Bert and the possibility that they are gay. And that really shot the news everywhere. Like, it really got a lot of people talking about the subject. But the first people who would go on the attack and would scold Sesame Street on the possible idea, not on the confirmation, but just on the idea that Ernie and Bert may be gay, was Bill O'Reilly and Fox News. Of course, they would be the ones that would immediately start off by attacking and condemning Sesame Street because of the idea that they may include gay characters and showing that to children. So for the longest time, they've always been doing this. You always see people who are in the far right constantly going after Sesame Street. And honestly, just by seeing this happen again and again and again, and even in this case, when Big Bird says that he got vaccinated and it ended up triggering people like Ted Cruz, of course, they just hate Sesame Street in general. Every single one of these far right people, if they stand more with Trump, with anti-vaxxer stands, if they're QAnon people, then they are the haters of Sesame Street. But of course, you're not going to see those people say that they flat out hate Sesame Street. They're not going to be straightforward with it. You know, because the thing is, in our society, if you would go and just tell people that you hate Sesame Street, you're just going to be considered a hater. You're going to be considered someone who you're going to be considered like that awkward person that, like, you know, it's just filled with hate. I mean, let's be honest. What kind of person would hate Sesame Street? That's why it's not really okay to be that kind of person to just go and immediately just say, oh, that guy hates Sesame Street. You know, like you like nobody wants to be next to the guy that hates Sesame Street. That's all I'm saying. And thank you, Sawden, to give that gifted sub to Knuckles Man. That is actually very nice of you. But anyways, back to what I was saying. Yeah, you're probably gonna see a lot of Trump supporters and far right people where they are going to try to defend themselves by saying, well, we do like Sesame Street. We just hate Sesame Street when they're trying to be political and they're trying to say Black Lives Matter and try to force kids to get vaccinated and stuff. The thing is, though, is that Sesame Street has been doing it their entire lives. That is the core of Sesame Street. Like I said, they take pride in educating children about inclusion, about tolerance, and calling out bigotry. And if you don't like that aspect of Sesame Street, then you just hate Sesame Street in general. And especially in this case, when it comes to this right here with Big Bird teaching kids about being vaccinated, this is not the first time that he has done so. In fact, you probably have seen this clip going around. This is on Twitter from the Muppet Wiki account, where in 1972, right in the very beginnings of Sesame Street, there is an episode where Big Bird would educate kids that it is important to get vaccinated back when the measles were a popular subject. Let's go ahead and have a quick listen.
Something's going on down at the store. I wonder it's kind of funny. I mean, it's strange. I mean, there's all kinds of people, and they're all in a line, and they don't look like they're buying candy. And there's a sign that says, "Don't wait, vaccinate." Huh. And there goes a boy with a balloon coming out of the store. Hey, what's going on here?
So that's just one little clip right here, and if you want to know a little bit of the conclusion, that at that point that they would go and like the adults would go and explain to Big Bird about what's going on, why they need to be vaccinated, and then it results in this little piece here.
Wow. Hey, I know what I'm going to do right away.
What are you going to do?
I want to get in line.
I actually find that pretty funny, honestly. Like just that quick shift of the tone where Big Bird is like, I know what I'm gonna do. I know exactly how to go and help my community. Well, what are you gonna do? I'm just gonna get in line, honestly. I just find that to be cute, actually. So, yeah, basically, this is just one example, and even today, the official Sesame Street account actually did respond to the backlash and to the comments of what people like Ted Cruz would say, and even pointed to this episode in particular to say that Big Bird has been educating kids to get vaccinated, from the measles, back in 1972. And honestly, I just find all this to be absolutely pathetic coming from the far right, and especially from Ted Cruz, who honestly is nothing more but just a spineless coward. This is the prominent example of why Trump supporters are nothing but despicable, spineless, worthless cowards. And again, Ted Cruz is the perfect example of that. A guy who has literally done nothing good for his country except to try to enable authoritarianism and white supremacy. Like, we are literally at the point where the world would be so much better without freaking Ted Cruz, because the guy wouldn't go and actually defend things that are actually important to him. All he does is to try to go and suck the dick to the people that he's serving, rather it be people like Trump or Mitch McConnell or whatever. He is only nothing more but a freaking slave going around picking cotton for his white supremacist masters. That's all he is. And I mean, yeah, he'll be more than happy to go and pick fights against Big Bird, but when it comes to calling out against his people on his own base that did anything wrong, he would do absolutely nothing. He's nothing more but a pathetic little worm that even within his own base, even amongst conservatives, they don't really like him. He is nothing more, like, the only reason why they do follow him is because he's nothing more but a tool to quote unquote own the libs. But again, he's just a perfect example of how him and like-minded people like Ted Cruz are all deplorable. They are worthless and just spineless frickin' cowards. Of course, he would go and attack Big Bird, but he's too scared to call out Matt Gaetz on the fact that he would be sleeping with minors. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if Ted Cruz would be more than happy to go to give Matt Gaetz his daughter to go and sleep with him. Honestly, I know that it seems very harsh, but honestly, with the amount of things and terrible things that Ted Cruz has done, honestly, the only thing I could say is just fuck that guy. Seriously, fuck Ted Cruz. And even in this case over here, when it comes to this whole controversy with these guys being upset of the fact that, oh, Big Bird is being vaccinated and really trying to push their own freaking agenda, like, you know, there is this massive hypocrisy, because now you're seeing like these far right people telling Big Bird and telling Sesame Street, oh, stop talking about politics. Why do you have to push your politics onto children? You know, and this also adds in an extra disgust, an extra disgust when it comes to people who would go and tell others online that, oh, stop talking about politics. I don't like people who would enforce politics. Like, well, how about this, dude? I mean, obviously, you're making it pretty clear that it's not politics in general that you're disgusted about. It's your politics. So why don't you go and shut the hell up and stop enforcing your freaking politics, okay? Like, seriously, this is exactly why we need mask and vaccine mandates, so that we can stop hearing these people. Like, seriously, sooner or later, if things don't get better with this pandemic, like, if we see another wave happening, that we need to start going and we need to start punishing these anti-vax people, and we need to go and find a way to just silence them or maybe even criminalize them. Because I know some people will say, well, you're trying to take away their freedom of speech. Well, trust me, we are pretty much at the point where if we do take away the freedom of speech of anti-vaxxers, then we would be able to save a lot more lives. And honestly, they're on thin ice by this point, and the tolerance for those people, yeah, it's starting to grow thin. So honestly, overall, this is just like going back into the subject of Sesame Street. This is just like, we're pretty much at the point where we're seeing this again and again and again, where we see these far right people, where we see these spineless pricks like Ted Cruz going after Sesame Street for something that they have done ever since the very beginning, something that they have been, something that Sesame Street has been taking pride, and the reason why they are one of the most beloved and most important TV shows ever. I can guarantee you that if the GOP has their way, if conservatives had their way, they would go and heavily censor Sesame Street or flat out cancel it. And that's another thing that actually really does piss me off regarding this story right over here, is how the media is not calling them out for exactly what they're accusing the liberals of doing. Because this is, once again, the conservatives using cancel culture to try to silence the Muppets. Again, they're doing this once again to try to use cancel culture going after the Muppets. Like, I can guarantee you, if the roles have been reversed, like if we see Big Bird making this anti-mask, like this anti-vax stance, and you see people calling him out, then you would definitely be sure that you'll see the media popping in and calling this cancel culture attacking Sesame Street, cancel culture going after Big Bird. And yet we're seeing people like Ted Cruz, we're seeing people from Fox News trying to use cancel culture to go after Big Bird and Sesame Street, but nobody's freaking calling them out on the fact that this is cancel culture. That's exactly what they're accusing the liberals of doing. But then again, they have double standards and they know they're hypocritical, because I guess it's okay in the name of like QAnon conspiracy theories and white supremacy. But seriously, it's ridiculous. This is nothing more but baseless cancel culture and just flat out petty attacking puppet characters online, just because of flat out educating children, of trying to do the right thing, to tell kids that they should go and get vaccinated. And it is a good message. And we need to encourage more vaccines. And yes, we should encourage more people to go and make vaccine mandates and mask mandates, to go and reward those who are doing their part to help minimize the damage of the pandemic, while the others, well, screw them. We need to punish them. Don't let them in any kind of facility. Force them to go and stay at home because they're not welcome if they're not going to be wearing their mask or if they refuse to be vaccinated. We're it's almost going to be 2 years that this pandemic has been a thing. And honestly, with all the resources that we do have, there is no excuse for you to go and wear a mask when you're outside and to go and get vaccinated. It's ridiculous. So honestly, overall with this thing, like, yeah, I know that I let off a lot of steam in this, but still, I just find this to be absolutely ridiculous regarding the fact that like the big thing right now that some conservatives are getting upset about is Big Bird telling them that, oh, they need to be vaccinated, and yet they're accusing liberals of being the snowflakes. How hypocritical. Seriously. So at the end of the day, go get vaccinated, wear a mask, and let's just all work together in order to get this pandemic to be over, and stop enforcing your far-right politics on this godforsaken pandemic, because really, this is about science. This is about the facts. Facts do not care about your damn feelings, and just do what you're frickin' told to wear a mask, because at this point, we're growing tired of your stubbornness and your frickin' entitlement, okay? You gotta start considering to think of others before you frickin' think of yourselves by this point. Okay, so, with that said and done, I know I went pretty unhinged. Well, I did warn you, by the way. Alright, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what is your opinion about the far right and the GOP attacking Big Bird regarding his vaccine status? Are you guys as upset as I am on this? How do you feel about this whole thing? Let me know what you think. Okay. God almighty, these people are whiny man children. Oh, not you, Matt, but the people reacting to Big Bird getting a vaccine. Heaven forbid someone is taking the opportunity to take care of his health. The preschool bird is more of a mature adult than these anti-vaxxers. Grow up, get a vaccine, and if you don't want to wear a mask for the rest of your life, well, at this point, that's where the US is going. Masks forever. And I was diagnosed as autistic as 18 months old. I still got vaccines. Exactly. And I know that technically when it comes to anti-vaxxers and stuff like that, they have long existed even before the pandemic. But it's unfortunate how because of social media and because of the rise of conspiracy theories and authoritarianism, trying to put doubt on the media and the facts and stuff like that because of Donald Trump, that we've seen them have a larger audience than ever before. And that's the reason why we're still seeing seeing a bit of this pandemic that's still going on. That's why we're still seeing numbers still on the rise. That's why there are still deaths that are going on. And by this point, it is mainly because of anti-maskers and anti-vaxxers why there have been hundreds of thousands, if not millions of deaths that are still going on to this day. And by this point, if we want things to get better, then we need to start punishing these people. We need to start punishing people for spreading lies, for not complying with CDC guidelines. Like we've been trying to be nice for like almost 2 years, but now we're at the point where being the nice guy is no longer an option. And if things don't get better again, then we need to start considering to punish those who don't follow the rules. All right, let's see what else we got here. It's kind of funny how pathetic these people are for attacking a puppet bird over vaccinations. I'm glad that my favorite color is blue, but in order to make this place less toxic to live in, we must show these heartless idiots what's it like to be stuck indoors for months by forcing them to stay indoors if they don't want to be vaccinated. All I could say is get a vaccine until the far right and the P word are both dead. This makes me glad I support you and your podcast, AniMat. Well, I mean, okay, let's not go and wish death upon these people. Like that would be taking it a little bit too far. That's why I'm saying that for now, the best thing is to go and enforce vaccine mandates onto several places. That vaccine mandates should be more and more of a mandatory thing. And I am thankful that I actually do live in an area that does enforce vaccine mandates. And even if there are places that don't have vaccine mandates, then it's pretty much by law that you must wear a mask, or else there will be some legitimate consequences in which the police would actually be involved. So for now, the peaceful pacifist option would be to demand more vaccine mandates and more mask mandates so that people do follow the rules. And if they don't want to, well, then it's their choice and they have to go and stay at home. All right, so let's see what else we got here. I may have said this before, but nothing will ever be as funny as how conservatives call liberals easily triggered snowflakes, but proceed to follow hissy fits over Sesame Street encouraging safety. This whole thing is proof of the GOP's cowardice and hypocrisy in terms of the pandemic. Overall, the biggest takeaway here is that the GOP is a bunch of spineless bellends that are better off with no platform at all. Yeah, it's pretty much like that Simpsons meme, you know, with Lionel Hutz. You know, when he mentions, like, can you imagine a world without lawyers? Yeah, it's pretty much the same thing. It's like, could you imagine a world where the GOP has no power? And then you see like a thought bubble with It's a Small World like situation where everyone from around the world is holding hands and they're spinning around in a circle with a happy sun. That's pretty much the situation that I'm thinking of right now. Oh yeah. Yeah, exactly. So let's see what else we have here. I feel bad for Big Bird being attacked like that. Sesame Street is just trying to help kids get vaccinated, but all the conservatives and Ted Cruz would go all out mad and start going after Big Bird. Seriously, these people need to stop complaining about this news and just congratulate Big Bird for what he got. I am glad that Big Bird got his vaccine twice, and don't forget, this is not the only character for kids that got vaccinated. I mean, take a look at Teletubbies. Exactly, you know, I mean, yes, I know that technically when it comes to Sesame Street, it is all fictional, and Big Bird is a fictional bird, which makes it a lot more pathetic that people like Ted Cruz and Lisa Booth would go out of their way to actually attack a fictional bird like Big Bird instead of actually doing things that are legitimately important. But then again, when it comes to Ted Cruz, this is the man who would go and fly to Cancun instead of helping his people when his state was like in a massive emergency when the whole thing is freezing over. So it really goes to show that people like Ted Cruz and all his supporters are all nothing but spineless cowards. So that's kind of like a proof that it is indeed a fact. It's not just my opinion. That is the truth right there. But still, though, I mean, like, yeah, what Sesame Street is doing and what Big Bird is doing is a good thing. They want to go and help people for, you know, like they want to look out for their safety. They want to make sure that kids can also be vaccinated, that they can be protected from something that is as frightening and scary as this. And I mean, this is not the first time that Sesame Street would go and educate kids regarding the vaccines and regarding the pandemic and what to do when there's this pandemic and there's a lockdown or something like that. And I mean, this ain't the first, and again, this is not the first time that when they would do something like this, they would get the like Republican politicians and Republican pundits that would be pissed off, and they would just go and flat out attack Sesame Street. Like I said, the far right hates Sesame Street because the philosophy of Jim Henson is the complete opposite with the philosophy of nationalism. They don't want to admit it because they don't want to be that guy who hates Sesame Street, but you know they all hate it. Anyways, I'll read 2 more comments before we jump into the next story. I am really not surprised that right-wingers would do this at this point. This is really just goes to show how pathetic Ted Cruz is and just shows how much of a coward these idiots are. Really, I think it just shows how Democrats are objectively better than Republicans. At least Joe Biden actually congratulated Big Bird for getting vaccinated. Also, Matt, thank you for discussing this issue. Never stop talking about politics. Now, that's a comment I never thought I'd hear on the internet. Yeah, well, I mean, at this point, I know there have been times when Republicans have been better than Democrats, like a few hundred years ago when Abraham Lincoln, you know, on the days of Abraham Lincoln. That is one example of how Republicans are technically better than Democrats. Well, then again, that was when Democrats were like the Trump supporters of their day. But but nowadays, yeah, like the problem is that it's not all Republicans, of course, but I mean, considering that they're taking their beliefs to the extreme, it really is how left-leaning people, how Democrats are objectively better than nationalists. I think that's the better way to put it, that Democrats are objectively better than nationalists, more so than Democrats are objectively better than Republicans. That would be taking it a little too far. All right, I'll go and read one more comment before we move on. Let's see what we got here. I'm absolutely baffled by this level of ignorance and stupidity. Have all Republicans no love for their own American culture? Well, I mean, the moderate ones kind of do, but it's more the Trump-supporting ones that have gone delusional and they would go hate America. Let's see. If Abraham Lincoln saw the actual state of the party he created back in 1854, he would be revolted by the sheer level of bigotry, mind-blinding and self-privilege that is rampant among the elephants' barracks. If those reps can't extract themselves of that Trump cult, a new civil war is more and more inevitable. That's the last thing USA wants nowadays. And that's kind of the sad reality, is that there are some, like, and this is not even when it comes to all Trump supporters, but there are some that actually do want a civil war. In fact, I actually did see a poll that amongst the Trump supporters who do funny enough believe that the election was stolen, 4 out of 10 of those believers think that the only solution to get what they want is through violence. So, the funny thing is that I got a lot of people who get pissed off when I call Trump supporters domestic terrorists, or that I would compare them to the 9/11 terrorists. But there's just more and more of these evidence that do show that it's not far, it's kind of pretty accurate. They're just pissed off because, well, I know I did hurt their feelings, but that doesn't mean that I'm lying, or that doesn't mean what I'm saying is the truth. Or, actually, scratch that. No, that doesn't mean that what I am saying is not true at all. That's what I do mean, actually. So, yeah, with all this going on, with how violent and how rampant that they are, so desperate to have things go their way, that they don't care what the situation may be. They'll just go all out. It's almost like nationalism has become more and more of a serious mental disorder, something that they need medicine and therapy to go and help each other out. Or it really is a case of just really bad faith actors like Ted Cruz that would go and take advantage of people with serious mental problems to go and enforce them to become very radicalized and turn into far-right extremists. So overall, with this situation, I'm not going to be excited to see what the reactions may be on YouTube or when this is going to be posted in public, but oh boy, I just needed to let off my stream on this situation. And yes, it is like, and this does not reflect on all Republicans, on all conservatives, but honestly, whenever they would go and attack Sesame Street, it is nothing more but absolutely pathetic. Oh man, I really did let out a lot on that thing. Alright, so with that said, let us now go and jump onto our next story, in which we are going to go from one beloved children's franchise to the next, where with this one, it's going to be bigger than ever, because not only is it going to be getting a spin-off series, but also it is going to be getting another movie, and what I'm talking about is PAW Patrol! Yes, folks, ooh, excuse me right there. Anyways, back to what I was talking about. When it comes to PAW Patrol, last week, Nickelodeon, Paramount, and Spin Master have all announced a brand new PAW Patrol movie, a sequel to this year's feature film in which they call PAW Patrol The Mighty Movie. And there have been a few things that they did confirm for it. Not only is Cal Brunker going to be coming back as the director, and that they do have a release date of October 13th, 2023, but we also have a bit of information about what the plot is going to be. And it states here, reading from my source on Deadline, it says, hold on a sec, let me properly highlight this. In the movie sequel, a magical meteor crash lands in Adventure City and gives the PAW Patrol pups superpowers, transforming them into the Mighty Pups. For Skye, the smallest member of the team, her new powers are a dream come true. But things take a turn for the worse when the pups' arch-rival Humdinger breaks out of jail and teams with a mad scientist to steal the superpowers for the two villains. With the fate of Adventure City hanging in the balance, the Mighty Pups have to stop the supervillains before it's too late, and Skye will need to learn that even the smallest pup can make the biggest difference. And yes, as I mentioned before, Nickelodeon and Spin Master have also revealed that they are going to be doing a new PAW Patrol spin-off series in which they are going to be focusing on one of the PAW Patrol pups. Which one specifically? They did not specify, but all they mention is the fact that it is also going to be coming out sometime in 2023. Now, on top of that, there's also a quote that I would like to read here coming from, and this is actually a big title now, the president and CEO of Paramount Pictures and Nickelodeon and chief content officer of Paramount Kids and Family, Brian Robbins, in which he states here, just as the first movie's success is in theaters and streaming confirmed PAW Patrol's status as power as a top globally loved franchise, the second theatrical release paired with the property's very first television spin-off will mark another major step in creating a universe of characters and stories to reach even more fans everywhere. We here at Paramount and Nickelodeon are focused on keeping the momentum going with our great partners at Spin Master to keep giving kids and families more PAW Patrol adventures across multiple mediums. And that's pretty much the big thing with this, is the fact that we are indeed going to be getting a sequel to the PAW Patrol movie, now called PAW Patrol The Mighty Movie. And I did do a little bit of research about this particular story here, and how with PAW Patrol, they did technically have a superhero spinoff where there was PAW Patrol The Mighty Pups, I believe, in which they do highlight that now each pup has their own special unique power. But I guess this time around, they're going to go and really highlight that and kind of fit that into the narrative of the movies that they have established, or like the big screen movie that they have established with the first, and try to integrate that onto this. So that apparently seems to be the big thing, to turn PAW Patrol into a superhero movie aimed for children. And I'm just going to say right now that, yes, I have actually seen the PAW Patrol movie, and I actually did do a review of it. And I'm honestly going to say that I was pleasantly surprised about it. Like, no joke, I thought it was actually a pretty enjoyable and good film. And this is coming from a childless millennial. This is a guy who just turned 29 years old. I don't have any children of my own. And yet, seeing what they've done with Paw Patrol the movie, I actually kind of enjoyed it. Now, this is not to say that I thought this was like the best movie ever, and it's like, this is far superior than Ryan the Last Dragon and Mitchell's vs. the Machines. No. Like, okay, it's not that great, and I am highly aware that its target audience is for children, and you can pretty much tell that the audience is for children and only children. But even at that, though, there are some great qualities about it, where the animation is actually superb, and also the action is actually quite engaging and can be quite intense, especially for a movie that's supposed to be for toddlers and stuff like that. You know, I won't say it is the best animated film of the year, but I would consider it the better, amongst the better half of the animated features that we have gotten this year so far. That's honestly my thoughts with the first Paw Patrol movie. But then you would have this Paw Patrol movie, the idea that we would have the Mighty movie right now. And I would honestly say that, you know, I'm actually pretty optimistic with this idea. If the first movie is any indication of what we have gotten, if it's anything going to be like, if it's going to be anything like that, then I'm sure that I'll probably, like, if I would go and watch it, I would probably actually have a decent time with it. Like, it would seem something that would be quite enjoyable, actually. Like, especially nowadays, thinking about the idea that you would see Paw Patrol with a lot of different superhero powers. So, like, that's basically the idea. It's a superhero themed Paw Patrol movie. And considering the action that they have done, and that was really great, and especially with the animation, I could see a lot of possibilities that they could do, like really taking a moment to go and highlight all the different superpowers that each of the pups that would have. And especially when another major factor about Paw Patrol the movie is about selling the toys, and trust me, like in Paw Patrol the movie, they're very unapologetic about it. Like, they really go out of their way to go and highlight some of the new features that they would go and include. And I don't mean like plot narratives, including like that new dog that's kind of like the city expert and stuff like that. I literally mean about highlighting like the new building, the new headquarters the Paw Patrol has in Adventure City, or like highlighting some of the new vehicles that they would go and have. They're very much unapologetic about it for the sake of trying to sell toys. And I think they're going to do the same thing here, where they're really going to go and highlight a lot of the pups' powers, to go and like really feature their abilities of what they can do, to really go and present that, yes, you could go and buy this at your local Toys R Us or your local toy store or Walmart or whatever, you know, to really go and emphasize that, you know, they have these powers, so go and buy these toys so that you can actually own what you see on the screen. But still, though, I think, like, even though there is a little bit of that soulless intention, I think it will provide with some great material for the animation to highly take advantage of. I think it's going to be at like those moments. If the first movie is any indication, I think it's also going to be great as well. But then also, there is the factor of the spin-off that they're going to do, the Paw Patrol spin-off series. And honestly, I feel like when it comes to Viacom CBS in general, like not just Nickelodeon, but just with Viacom CBS, it kind of feels like they really are a bit late in the game when it comes to trying to do their own spin-offs. It's like only now do we fully see Nickelodeon and those properties really taking advantage of trying to make reboots, remakes, and spin-offs, and really capitalizing hard on many of the properties that they do have and what they have created. I know some people could debate, well, technically they've already done so with stuff like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or even with Star Trek and stuff like that, but I specifically mean the stuff that is made for Nickelodeon by Nickelodeon in Nickelodeon, the stuff that they've created there. And I guess when it comes, and I guess like after we've seen SpongeBob having his spin-off with not just Camp Coral and also the Patrick Star Show, that probably went well to the point that now they want to do the same thing with Paw Patrol, where they want to also go and have that to go and have as many spin-offs as they want. And I mean, with the current status of PAW Patrol, we are literally talking about what is currently the most popular preschool show out there. There's a lot of possibilities of what kind of show that you would want to go and make, especially if you're just going to be focusing on one puppy. Like maybe you can go and have a chase series, or you can have the little bulldog, or you can have that clumsy Dalmatian, or you can have someone like Sky. Like really, it's at the point where the possibilities are very much endless of what you can do of a PAW Patrol series, or like even the kid himself. Why not actually just make a spin-off of just the kid with his own adventures? Like while we see the PAW Patrol pups doing their own thing, what is that? What is it, Ryler? Something like that, Ryder, or something. Yeah, excuse me for forgetting the name. I mean, it's been a little while since I've seen the movie, but yeah, Ryder. Like, why not make it like a Ryder series? Like the possibilities have very much become endless with how popular it has become and how widely beloved these characters have become right now. So yeah, it's really no surprise that we are going to get a spin-off. It's just kind of surprising that we would see them doing it in 2023. But you know what? I actually just realized something. Like, it just popped in my head that, wait a minute, now I understand why they're doing these things in 2023. Like, not just the spin-off series, but also the sequel movie as well. Because 2023 is going to mark the 10th anniversary of PAW Patrol. Holy crap, why didn't I think of this before? It does make actual sense. Like, to go and truly celebrate PAW Patrol as a series and stuff like that, why not actually really go far and actually fully capitalize on that moment by putting out a new show, putting out a new movie? Like, of course. Now it suddenly makes sense in my mind. Like, okay, yeah, now I see why they would want to go. Okay, well, that's not the purpose of why they want to go to do this, but why they would go and release those things in 2023. So, okay, that actually does make sense. But overall, I will say that when it comes to the movie specifically, I feel optimistic about this. I did enjoy the first movie. And with this one over here, I'm not going to say that I'm going to be hyped up for it. I'm not going to call this my most anticipated film of 2023. But considering that I have enjoyed the first movie, I'm going to be optimistic with this PAW Patrol and see how that one is going to go. Like, like if they've proven, if PAW Patrol can prove that they could actually go and make an enjoyable feature film, even if it is like a preschool series and, they're making a movie specifically for the youngest demographic, if they could do as well as what they did with the first, then honestly, maybe I could probably have a good time with the Mighty movie. Who knows? We'll just have to wait and see when that movie will be coming out on October 13th, 2023. All right, so with that said, now I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask, how do you all feel about PAW Patrol, the Mighty movie? Are you guys excited to go and check this movie out? Are you guys optimistic and curious about this as much as I am? Are you guys very doubtful? Are you not a fan of PAW Patrol? Let me know what you think on this. Okay, let's see now. I'm pretty surprised that PAW Patrol is getting a sequel. I did watch the movie on Paramount Plus, and I thought it was pretty good with everything they got. Although I'm not excited for the sequel, it may be cool to see how the pup's superpowers work. It seems that Paramount's release strategy paid off. I wonder if Baby Shark would get a theatrical release because of the success of PAW Patrol. We'll have to wait when it comes out in 2023. I'm glad Cal Brunker finally made a good movie after the other films that he has made. Yeah, honestly, in terms of the Baby Shark thing, I think they have announced before that they are going to be making a movie. Like Nickelodeon is going to be teaming up with Pink Fong in order to go and make a feature film. Now, rather if that is actually going to be released on the big screen, I think that we will have to wait and see. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know there is going to be a full-on legitimate Nickelodeon branded Baby Shark movie, but again, we'll see of where it will come out. Let's see what else we have here. All right, I'll go with this one. Considering I haven't seen the PAW Patrol movie, but I can already see where this is going, really think about superhero sequels and superheroes TV series. Why do I get the feeling that Paramount Plus is trying to make a Paw Patrol cinematic universe? Just don't make it like the Dark Universe. So basically you're well, I wouldn't necessarily say that this is a cinematic universe or anything. Like, technically this is just a this is just a franchise. That really is what this is. Because technically with cinematic universes, you can go and create like many different properties that are loosely linked to each other, and then you can have like the ultimate crossover, kind of like what Marvel is doing. But with Paw Patrol, what they're doing is very much like SpongeBob. They're just they're just expanding their ideas and just like really playing with other different characters that they do have, and really playing around with the idea of like their biggest adventures of like what would be worth putting on the big screen. So again, I wouldn't say it's a cinematic universe. I just think this is really expanding the franchise. Let's see what we got here. I'm not saying I love the first movie, but it's just harmless and serviceable. But with this, didn't the show already do this plot line with a direct-to-DVD movie? But aside from that, the storyline itself gives off a little kid creating an adventure with his toys vibe. I'm not going to be rushing to see this. I'm probably just going to stick to Dune Part 2, but how much do you guys want to bet that this movie is going to tie into the spin-off a la Sponge on the Run? Oh, that could be, actually. Like, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if what they would do, like if the spin-off turns out to be like a Sky series. That could actually, yeah, I can actually see that be the thing. Like, you could be onto something right there. And yes, as I mentioned before, technically this is not the first time that we have seen Paw Patrol with superpowers and are called like the Mighty Pups. There was a direct-to-DVD movie that was entirely based on that, but in this case over here, I think the big highlight is to go and give it the big screen treatment. Like what they highlighted on Paw Patrol, the movie, like to give that treatment with the Mighty Pups instead of just like the typical thing that you would see on the TV show. Like what they want to deliver is like the big screen treatment. Like they want to give Paw Patrol a legitimate superhero movie, and that's pretty much the big thing that they want to do. Yes, they're recycling ideas, but they're doing so in a way that they want to make it really big for the fans. And also to make a lot of money, don't get me wrong. Okay, let's see what else we have here. This announcement has definitely caught me by surprise. While I'm not a fan of Paw Patrol, considering I am a grown man, but considering how I've heard the Paw Patrol movie is better than had any right to be, it could have potential, and the spin-off series could be good as well. Also, I do think the same release date strategy on Paramount Plus did help out as well, especially since Paramount is doing the same release strategy with Clifford the Big Red Dog. Yes, that is definitely true. But like I said, it's only now that I realize with the 2023 release, it does make sense because it's supposed to all tie in with the 10th anniversary of Paw Patrol, of the whole franchise itself. So it is actually pretty logical to like make a to make it a big deal to celebrate it with both a spin-off series and a big name movie released in theaters. All right, I think I'm going to read one more comment before we move on to the next story. Let's see here. Well, I have little to no interest in Paw Patrol. As a guy who recently had a lot of nephews born this year, including one on my 27th birthday, I would gladly show them this movie if their parents haven't shown it to them yet. I think the last movie I saw in cinemas was more for toddlers was the 2017 MLP movie. Oh boy, that is actually kind of a hot take to call My Little Pony the movie a movie for toddlers. Like, oh boy, I don't see that as a comment going well. Anyways, I wonder if Paw Patrol would be lucky enough to get a third feature film just like Rugrats and SpongeBob SquarePants. If only Loud House could catch up. I mean, that would really depend, honestly. I think it shall depend on how things go with the Mighty movie, because if that film becomes successful, if that actually does turn a profit at the box office, then I could totally see Paramount, Nickelodeon, and Spin Master to go and consider a third movie by recycling one of their ideas that they've done for their direct-to-DVD movies and amplify that on the big screen. I mean, they're doing that with the Mighty movie, so why not? All right, but anyways, with that said, if you guys are excited or if you are curious to see PAW Patrol the Mighty movie and the spin-off series, then keep in mind that they're both being released in 2023, and the movie itself will be out on October 13th of 2023. Now, for our next story, I will admit this was actually a last-minute change-up. Originally, I was going to talk about a rumor regarding the Donkey Kong movie. Yes, in which Illumination might be considering to do a spin-off of their Super Mario movie and do a Donkey Kong movie with Seth Rogen. But considering that one is a rumor, and I mean, nothing has been confirmed, and if it is true, then it wouldn't be years until that rumor would be confirmed, I decided to go and switch it with this last minute edition, an upcoming animated feature that is going to be coming to Netflix, specifically from Netflix Animation, in which we are going to be going down, way down to the point that we are going to be going to the land down under. So with that said, let's go ahead and check out the trailer for the next Netflix exclusive movie, the next Netflix exclusive animated feature, Back to the Outback.
Welcome to the Australian Wildlife Park.
Whoa!
Home to the cutest animals in the world.
Oh my gosh, it's Pretty Boy!
This is Mission Control, patching you through to Pretty Boy now.
Oh.
And the Outback's most dangerous animals.
These animals are deadly.
Hear that horrible hiss?
Ugh, gross.
Monsters. That's what they think we are in here. I say we break out tonight.
You're a bunch of creepy animals. You're not going to get 5 yards.
You're really mean.
But he's so adorable. Look at his cute little bottom, like it was knitted by angels.
Grab him!
Go ahead and try. Snakes can't climb. Snakes can climb!
It's just easier.
We're going back to the Outback.
They've gone, sir.
We got some deadly creatures to hunt.
Grab hold of me. Over there!
Where'd they go?
I'm gonna go.
Dear God, don't let me die with ugly animals.
Sweet.
Like a tiny cloud filled with hate.
I know it's scary. But out here, we can be ourselves.
The face of death. I feel so liberated.
Am I a duck? Am I a beaver? It's very hard for me to buy clothes off the rack.
Baby, I'm a wild child.
I'm gonna catch those freaks. I'll raise an army if I have to.
My bloomin' onions.
I've never had a pretty friend before. Can I wipe my bottom with your fur?
What? I want to go home. I'm hit. Oh, God, that was my lip.
It was a Fiji water.
We drank it all. But here.
What is it?
My urine.
You know what this means? You don't hate me anymore.
I'm a Capricorn. I hate everybody.
Baby, it's wildlife. And baby, I'm a wild child.
Yes, that was Back to the Outback, which apparently will be in some selected theaters, but it shall primarily be on Netflix on December 10th. And I'm actually going to be very honest with you guys. This is the first time that I have ever seen this trailer. Like I said before, this was a last second edition. Like before starting this, I decided to go and switch up one of the stories to go and include this one. So honestly, for me, this was completely fresh. This was completely new. And this is my first time fully experiencing what we have seen here with Back to the Outback, or at least with this trailer of Back to the Outback. And I'm gonna be very honest with you guys. You know, like that's how I feel. It's just a lot of it. It's just very much You know, I will say, like, probably the most positive thing is that, okay, it is well rendered. Like, some of the animation does actually look pretty nice. But then again, like, I do have a few issues with some of the designs. Like, number one, the animals, like, they feel generically cute. Like this is the typical cute design that you would see on animals in order to make them likable and adorable. You know, honestly, I feel like that's kind of like a template that you would see in other forms of animated features. I bet like you would take these kinds of animals and you would go and like you would go and put them in plenty of other places that they won't seem like as out of place, like with the snake. Like you could put her in a different movie, or even like the pretty boy koala or something like that. Or here's another good example of how they would look. Yeah, it's just there's something about the designs that isn't as unique, and there are some of them that feel a bit weird. Like a good example, like the kids here. I don't know. There's just something about them, like especially with their eyes. Like I don't know. It's because like the emphasis on the eyelashes. There's just something that feels a bit off. But other than that, like, you know, the animation is not too bad, and it's probably the best thing about what we have seen so far with the, you know, with what we have seen in this trailer. But other than that, though, my biggest issue with what we have seen, at least in this trailer, is that it reminds me a little too much of Madagascar. Like, there's just something about this that feels like this is nothing more but an Australian themed Madagascar, where it's a bunch of animals who are trapped in a zoo, but at least one of them wants to break out and go to the wild, like go be with their own kind and stuff like that. But then at the same time, you would have elements from like the other sequels. You would have elements for the sequels where like you got this angry poacher that's trying to go and grab them. So there's just a lot of this that reminds me a lot of what we have seen before in movies like Madagascar, or in a lot of these like a lot of these like animals escaping human civilization type of stories. Like I remember a few months ago, another example of a movie that I've seen like this is what is it, like Hugo, something Hugo, like Jungle Hydrant Hugo. Yes, that's another movie, a Danish movie that has a very similar plot line to this, where like these are like technically it's an animal or like a rare creature that's trying to escape human civilization in order to go back into the wild. It's a very generic plot line, and even what they have shown here, like even the message, like yeah, it's a sweet message, but again, it's a very bland message of like, oh, it's okay to be yourself, you know, don't be afraid of being who you are, and embrace your likeness, even if you're not the most cute or the most appealing character or whatever, you know. Like we've heard this story again and again and again, and it just feels tiring. And not to mention the humor. Oh man, the humor in all this. I mean, there are probably a few moments where I feel like, okay, it doesn't feel that bad. It is nice, but especially in this trailer, it seems to be dependent on toilet humor. Like one example is like with the tarantula, like with this guy. Hold on a sec. Oops. Almost forgot.
Ugh, gross.
And that's just one example. Or even at the end, like I noticed a lot of people got grossed out with the villains per se, with the hunter and his son, like the little Steve Irwin wannabe right over here.
We drank it all, but here.
What is it?
My urine.
Yeah, of course we need to have a pee joke in here. Yeah, and also like there are times like this isn't just toilet humor, but there have been a lot of moments where you could tell that they also want to add like some snark or some sass, especially with the pretty boy koala, who's supposed to be like this cute little baby koala, but is actually a jerk in real life. And there have been, like probably the only joke that I would say that is actually a bit funny is when all the animals fell and they landed on the koala.
Sweet. Like a tiny cloud filled with hate.
Okay, that one I will admit is probably a little bit cute. That was funny. But other than that, though, it's just there's just so much where I feel like it doesn't land well. It's just, you know, they fall flat. And honestly, at least my biggest problem with it is that overall with what we have seen so far with this back to the Outback trailer, is just a lot of it feels generic. It's just, you know, I wouldn't say this is the most cringeworthy, like worst animated film. I don't think this is as bad. I don't think this will be as bad as something like America the Motion Picture. But honestly, I just feel like this is just a boring, generic animated feature. It's just that's my biggest problem. It's just there's so much of it that feels generic. The plotline feels generic. Some of the designs feel generic. The message feels generic. Some of the jokes feel generic for a kids film. There's just so much of it that is just heavily recycled from other stuff, including Madagascar, where it just feels you know, it really feels boring. It doesn't feel as enjoyable. There's nothing about it that's really getting me excited to want to actually go and watch it. So for me, I just feel like with Back to the Outback, it's just really you know, that like I said at the start of this, it's just very That's how I feel about it. Now, keep in mind, I could absolutely be wrong about this, and I'll be open to that. Like, who knows, maybe when the movie does come out, it could turn out to be actually really enjoyable. It could actually turn out to be hilarious, and the characters could actually be very heartfelt, and it does manage to sell its message well. That could be a high possibility, and I could totally be wrong with the statement that I am making right now. But honestly, with the trailer that they've done here, it does not leave me with a good first impression. But ultimately, we'll just have to wait and see with what they got over here. So if you guys are curious to go and check out Back to the Outback, then keep in mind that the movie will be coming out on Netflix on December 10th. And with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you think about the Back to the Outback trailer? What is your impression of it? Are you guys a lot more optimistic than me about this, and you feel like this is going to be great? This is going to be an awesome Netflix movie? Are you guys more put off by it? Are you not as amused by this? Let me know what you think. Oh dear, I made a little splash. I did not expect that. All right, I'll clean that later. But anyways, let's see. When I first heard about this, I was like, yeet the movie. And when I saw the trailer, I was like, Although the animation looks pretty solid, but everything else is just too generic. And not only that, there's just too much toilet humor in this movie. I feel like this movie is trying to be like the new Madagascar, and not only that, but also Jungle Direct Hugo, which I haven't seen, but curious about it. Anyways, back to this movie. Not really gonna rush through this because it feels like a boring movie. All right. Let's see, what do we got here? Actually, you know what? I don't know if it's highly likely, because by this time, Australians are in bed, but I would like to know the opinion of an Australian, actually. I don't know, maybe I'll, actually, I do know, well, technically there are a couple of Australians. We could ask we could go and ask Phantom Strider what he thinks. I should also go and ask Yoshi Player what he thinks about this. I know that the dude is Australian, so I don't know, like, here's a trailer of a movie for you people. What do you think about this? Oh my god, but anyways, let's see here. My thoughts is the same as yours, Matt. It's just, The visuals and animations are nothing special. The story is just Madagascar, but extremely Australian. And the characters are rather bland, though I am somewhat interested in the koala character. I've seen a lot of people in the chat compare this to the canceled DreamWorks movie Larrikins, which does make sense since one of the directors of this movie is Harry Crisp, did work on Larrikins. Oh my god, wow, you guys are smarter than me, holy crap. Yeah, that is actually true. There was a moment when DreamWorks was going to do this Australian Outback-themed musical animated feature. That is actually true. Yeah, you know, like, and it is kind of sad when you do think about it, because, like, what we're getting here is kind of like it's kind of like the counterfeit version, or it's like the dollar store version of that movie. It's like, can we have larrikins? No, we're not getting larrikins. We already have larrikins at home. Larrikins at home is this. It's back to the Outback. Oh my God. Yeah. I think we're going to see a lot of discussions about larrikins when this movie is going to be coming out. If people even care that this movie would come out anyways. Oh, but you guys do bring up a good point. That is actually true, right? Good on you guys. You get a cookie for that. Anyways, let's see what else we got here. Like you, Matt, this is my first time watching this trailer, and not gonna lie, this looked weak. It looked like Madagascar, but take place in Australia with very weak comedy, so I'm not as excited. I feel like this is a weak year for Netflix animation, where the only animated movies I like are Mitchell's, Vivo, and possibly Witch Dragon. But those are from Sony, by the way, and not made by Netflix. Oh, and maybe the new My Little Pony movie, but still, this is a weak year for Netflix animation. Yeah, that is honestly true. And this is not to say that Netflix Animation is a bad studio. And I mean, they have provided, like they started out very strong with stuff like Klaus and the Willoughbys. I actually really like the Willoughbys. But now this year though, like the stuff specifically from Netflix Animation with stuff like with like America the Motion Picture, and now we're gonna get this. Yeah, honestly, I'm not really, it doesn't make me excited for the animated programs that Netflix would have. I mean, granted, I know there's going to be some really good stuff that will be in the future with movies like Wendell and Wild and Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Like those ones I'm really hyped up for. But when it comes to stuff like freaking this, yeah, I ain't as excited. That honestly, it really does emphasize of how that it's stuff like this, why it feels like Netflix is like on a lower tier than movies that would be released on a big screen. Like big screen movies, you could tell that those are much bigger deals, but then you got stuff like this. It's like, yeah, Netflix is pretty much the new generation of direct to home media. That's kind of the feeling that we are getting, especially when they do put out stuff like America the Motion Picture and this. Let's see what other comments that we have here. Honestly, I'm not looking forward to this movie. This is more childish, and even the animation is childish. Does this remind me, and even you, of that canceled project film Larrikins, because it takes place in Australia? Larrikins mixed with Madagascar in this. Yes, we have talked about it, so you do bring up a good point. Let's see what else we got. Wow, this was lame. I'll at least say that the animation is okay, and I'm a little curious about the Rachel House shark because it's Rachel House. But the plot line seems a little too Madagascar-esque, and I don't recall laughing once at the jokes, but I could be wrong, so I might check it out if I get the motivation. But for now, if I ever want to watch a Netflix musical, I might stick with something like Jingle Jangle. I mean, can Pretty Boy belt out something like Magic Man G? I didn't think so. And yeah, it is true that the holidays are going to be coming out. So, stuff like Jingle Jangle and A Christmas Story, or like, or that, oh, fudge, I forgot, the Christmas Chronicles, like they're going to be back in style when, like pretty soon. So keep an eye out on that. All right. I'll read one more comment before we move on to the next story. Let's see here. Who would have a good one? Yeah. Okay. I'll go with this. So I'll say this, the animal character designs look cute enough to make marketable toys. Like, I could totally look at them and think cute stuffed toys. Otherwise, not interested. I kind of feel like Netflix took some of DreamWorks characters' models for Larrikins and repurposed them with changes. I honestly expected better from Netflix, especially when they're putting this in theaters. I'll stick with West Side Story, Don't Look Up, and Being the Ricardos. Yeah, oh my god. Considering that Netflix is also trying to put this in theaters, imagine if Netflix would actually go and put more of a push to make Back in the Outback more of a to make it more of an Oscar contender than Mitchell's versus the Machines. I know technically that would be more Sony's part to try to take care of like the award representation for the Mitchells, but just freaking imagine that they want to make back to the Outback more of a big deal for the awards than Mitchell's versus the Machines, or even like the Oscars would end up nominating Back to the Outback instead of Mitchell's versus the Machines. Oh man, people would freaking riot, and I don't think it's gonna be Disney that is gonna be to blame on this one. All right, but anyways, if you guys would like to go and be interested to check out Back to the Outback, remember that the movie will be coming out on December 10th on Netflix. All right, so with that said, let's go and jump onto our next story that we have here. And this one, oh boy, this is going to get pretty interesting. It's going to be bad. I'm going to say that right now. This is going to be something that will suck. But I will give it credit that it is a lot more interesting than Back to the Outback. Because guess who is coming back making direct-to-DVD movies? Yes, folks, it's going to be none other than Tom and Jerry. And saddle up, because they're coming back with a brand new movie called Tom and Jerry Cowboy Up.
Good times or bad times, we always look after each other.
That's right, because we're all family.
Lots of fellers out there, they want to be cowboys. From the Pecos on up to Illinois.
I own everything except for this.
Betty Benson's place.
Find the deed to the ranch and destroy it. You'll have to sell to me.
Cowboy Up, yeah!
Uncle Jerry, we need reinforcements. We've got predators threatening from all over the West. Ah! I think we just got our plan.
You gotta wear them boots. You need a gun that shoots. You gotta look that part.
We got a new sheriff.
You got a cowboy up. Yeah, like the cowboys do. You need a big bandana.
Our family needs a sword too.
You gotta rope that steer. You gotta have no fear. When your work don't stop, you got a cowboy up.
Take that, you vermins! Woohoo!
Tom and Jerry Cowboy Up. Look for it on digital and DVD.
Yeah! Oh, yes, fellers, we're going to be getting a Western Tom and Jerry direct-to-DVD movie called Tom and Jerry Cowboy Up. And that ain't clear for you? Then let me go and read the synopsis here, reading from my source on Animation Magazine. And it says here, the Wild Wild West just got wilder with Tom and Jerry on the ranch. This time, the rivals team up to help a cowgirl and her brother save their homestead from a greedy land grabber. And they're going to need some help. Jerry's 3 precocious nephews are all ready for action, and Tom is rounding up a posse of prairie dogs. But can a ragtag band of varmints defeat a deceitful desperado determined to deceive a damsel in distress? I will say, I really do like the wordplay in there. No matter what happens with Tom and Jerry in the saddle, it'll be a rootin' tootin' good time, yo! Ah! And if y'all want to make sure you want to get yourself a copy of Tom and Jerry Cowboy Up, then keep in mind that it's going to be coming out on January 25th, 2022, both on DVD and digital. And if y'all want it on Blu-ray, well, tough luck, they ain't doing that. It's just going to be on DVD and digital. All right, but in all seriousness, like, wow! This is, you guys believe me why this thing is interesting, because, okay, yeah, they're back in making another direct-to-DVD movie, and yeah, they're as bad as ever, or at least it's pretty much as bad as the last time, which, I think it was like 4 years ago now, or it's gonna be more than 4 years ago, that they did Tom and Jerry in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. But now they seem to be coming back to this. Like, they already had their big, they had their big screen moment earlier in the year with the Tom and Jerry 2021 movie. And, now it seems like they're going to be coming back to some of their smaller budgeted stuff, especially when I think it was just recently that we did get Tom and Jerry in New York, which is supposed to be the spin-off series to the movie. And, honestly, I was kind of surprised. I thought after Willy Wonka, they wouldn't do this again, but now they're back at it with Tom and Jerry Cowboy Up. And you know what? It's bad, but I wasn't expecting this brand of bad. And I know, like, before the animation is bad, but this time around, like, you could tell it's massively different. That they're doing, they're pretty much doing the same type of digital Adobe Flash style 2D animation that they would usually do with the shows, whether it be like the series from the 2010s or just recently with Tom and Jerry in New York. They would have that kind of animation. And even over here, it's like, the funny thing about it is that this is like justifiably cheap. It's justifiable to call this animation here pretty cheap. It's like, it's the kind that it wants to be like UPA, but doesn't truly know how to capture that style in order to make the designs or to make the look of it feel endearing. And it's just like a lot of it just screams out that they really are on a budget crunch. And even with the animation, with the character animation, a lot of it just feels massively stiff. Like a good example is with the 3 nephews that Jerry has.
Uncle Jerry, we need reinforcements.
Like they're like all of this are just flat out stiff. Like the only character that I feel like is energetic is actually the girl prairie dog here. Like at least like, she's got some pretty dynamic poses, but other than that, like everybody just feels stiff. Everybody just feels like it's just like kind of like they kind of got a broom up their butt, and what the fridge is going on with this old timer? Like, why is his face so elongated? Like you see that, right? It's like his face is so stretched out while he's giving Jerry the medal to say like, you're the sheriff now. But yeah, it's just a lot of it just feels stiff. Like the designs just feel like, there's nothing dynamic. They all feel stiff. Their movements also feel massively stiff. Like this is the kind of like, what this is? I'll give this a special name. This is animatronic animation, where the movements are just so rigid that they feel like a Chuck E. Cheese animatronic. And before you say anything, no, please do not add a freaking Five Nights at Freddy's reference. I think like we all want to move on from that thing. Like that's a thing in the past now. But yeah, like you look at you look at all this character animation that they do have. A lot of it just feels like it's like an animatronic from like the 1980s. Like there's barely, like you don't feel like there's any life to it. Like everything just feels like it's stiff, and it feels like they have to really force hard to put in any movement in there. Now, if there is one thing that I would say that is actually positive, if I have to force myself to give it credit to say something good about this, honestly, well, there are 2 things actually. One would have to be like the ending joke over here. Like, I'll admit it was actually pretty cute with, with Tom following that light, doing that whole routine of like the cat following the laser pointer and stuff like that. Okay, that one is cute. I like the idea of like the mice using a tin can, like in order to provide that light. That was fine. That was nice. And also the only other thing I would say that is actually like good, I'll admit, the cowgirl is pretty cute. She's actually she's a nice looking cowgirl. Like, she asked me to go out on a date, or like, meet up at a bar, just chat up, I definitely, I would. I would honestly say I would. She's like, she's a cute, nice looking cowgirl. And honestly, those are the only positive things that I can say about it. Again, I know that this kind of comment would seem a little bit shallow of me to say, but I mean, can you find me something positive to say about this? Is there anything good that you have seen here with freaking Cowboy Up? I sure couldn't. At least I could say that the cowgirl is hot, but other than that, that's pretty much it, honestly. But yeah, like, honestly, with all this, it's just, yeah, like, wow, this is, like, unexpectedly bad. I think that's the best way to put it with this, with this thing right over here. Like, yeah, I wasn't expecting anything great because this is a direct-to-DVD Tom and Jerry movie, but I wasn't expecting something like this. I was expecting something in the lines of like Tom and Jerry Willy Wonka, not this. This is like like they're going into the same kind of badness, but in a completely different direction. And also there is one more thing that I do want to go and actually mention. Yeah, some people are also struggling. Like some people are mentioning is like the voice acting, maybe? I don't know. Yeah, I know. But anyways, there's also one more thing that I do want to mention that I have realized when watching this. The thing is that technically, like, I know Tom and Jerry went through their phase of like putting Tom and Jerry in an already existing movie like The Wizard of Oz or Willy Wonka. But they're kind of doing the same thing here in a way, because the plot line, I gotta say, is way too familiar. Because I feel like there is an alternative title for Tom and Jerry Cowboy Up, and I would call this Tom and Jerry Home on the Range. Don't you think it has a similar plot line there? Like, technically it's about, like, it's entirely Western themed. It has, you know, it does stick to a more cartoonier design, than they're kind of used to, like a more abstract, cartoonier design. Like when you do look at the characters, they do seem a bit more different than the typical design that you would find in Tom and Jerry, and a lot more abstract. So a little bit similar to Disney's approach with Home on the Range. And then of course it's about the main characters, which is a bunch of animals who has to stop this greedy villain who wants to go and grab the land, and they want to take they want to take the ranch of like the good characters or the good humans, or in this case, or like, kind of like their farm. So they got to go and stop them and save the day. That's pretty much the big plot line of all this. And it very much is like Home on the Range. Honestly, it's a very rare moment of when I would watch this and think, why would I want to go and see this when I already got Home on the Range? And I know, like, some people wouldn't want to go with Home on the Range, but I mean, it'll probably be a much better option than freaking Tom and Jerry Cowboy Up. But you know what? I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, this thing is bad, but you know what? This looks interesting. I would be down to watch it, but like in a bad movie kind of way. Like this, this could actually make like a fun episode of like AniMat watches just to see this really bad Tom and Jerry movie going around. Oh man, but yeah, so overall, yeah, this is just absolutely stupid, but I will say I was quite surprised by the different type of bad that this thing would deliver. And again, if you guys are interested in seeing Tom and Jerry Cowboy Up, or get yourself a copy of it, then keep in mind that it's going to be coming out on January 25th, 2022. So, with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, what do you all think about Tom and Jerry Cowboy Up? Are you guys interested in this movie? Do you guys want to go and see it? Or do you want to go and avoid it as much as possible? Let me know what you all think. Okay, let's see what we got here now. Back to the Outback was already boring to me, and now this will probably make me fall asleep. The plot is just Home on the Range, which already is pretty bad, and this animation, even some of Disney's worst direct-to-video sequels, looks nicer than this. This type of bad, that you don't really have any words for it. This is so boring that I might fall asleep before I can fit. By the way, I have to be right back. I'm sorry I have to do this, but I just really need to go to the bathroom. Sorry about this, but it's a little bit of an emergency right now. Sorry, guys. Okay, I made it. Oh, man. The funny thing about it was that, I was thinking, well, maybe I could hold it in. Maybe I could wait until after the podcast. But my body just went... No, like, it was telling me, no, you gotta go now. You gotta go to the bathroom. So, yeah, I made it. Don't worry. No accidents occurred. So, sorry for that little interruption. But, yes, I am back. Anyways, back to what we got here. Okay, anyways, I owe an apology to Back to the Outback. The slapstick feels wrong, of course, not funny. The animation looks cheap and stiff. And what is it with Warner Brothers and putting Tom and Jerry in the weirdest scenarios? I mean, think about it. They were in the Land of Oz, a celebrity wedding, the Wild West, Willy Wonka's factory, not to mention a whole bunch of fairy tales. It's pretty bonkers, let me tell ya. So, in short, I won't be checking it out. It does look too sweet, or should I say, it doesn't look too sweet. Doggy. There you go. If you want to have that little piece right there. Let's see. This looks very bad, worse than the canceled Tom and Jerry Matrix movie. This looks like it took 6 months to make, and they got Riders in the Sky Western Swing Group to do music, at least the same people who did the album Woody's Roundup from Toy Story 2, so at least the music might be decent. Alongside this gets added the AniMat's seal of garbage. Really? Is that the case here? I just want to double check if... I don't know if there is a confirmation, but all right. Anyways, no, that is an interesting fact if that is the case. Let's see. I mean, it looks better than Tom and Jerry Willy Wonka, but that's the only positive I'm giving this. The animation looks cheap and everyone moves like they're constipated. This should have been called Tom and Jerry, I'm spending my money or something on something worth my time. Yeah, and I think the budget did the same thing too. It's like, yeah, let's go buy something awesome. Let's go get let's get a PS5 and a bunch of games. Oh right, we got to make a Tom and Jerry movie. Hold on, how much money do we have left? That's enough. We could still make a movie out of that. Oh yeah, it's one of those things. Like maybe just a few extra, just a little bit of that, and maybe it could help be like tolerable at least. All right. Now, let's see. Okay, I thought this was going to be something really bad, not just a bad trailer. If I want to watch Cowboy Tom and Jerry, I'd watch one of the old cartoons. My goodness, the animation, yikes. Also, Jerry has 3 nephews. Is this supposed to be like Donald's triplet nephews? What's wrong with just Tuffy? Actually, did Jerry's country singing uncle appear because missed opportunity? Also, please never do Mater again. I actually liked Mater. Well, that wasn't Mater, honestly. That was just being like this old Western prospector voice. I wasn't actually aiming for Mater. If I would be screaming a lot more of like, Dingum and McQuaid. Come on, McQuaid, we need to go and watch Tom and Jerry Cowboy Up. Oh, boy. All right, I think I'll read one more comment before we go into the grand finale. I do love Tom and Jerry, but does it need another direct-to-video movie? It's better Warner Brothers Animation should produce DTV movies based on Looney Tunes characters like Bugs Bunny's origin story. Same goes to DC that they should have made animated films based on other superheroes like Power Girl and Starfire rather than just I'm Batman. Seriously, there are so many Warner Brothers characters that could turn into an animated direct-to-video to streaming service like HBO Max. And I mean, that is honestly true. Like, there really is a whole bunch of other options that they could have done. Like, this is Warner Brothers we're talking about, and they have an entire collection of different properties that they could use and use greatly. But they end up sticking with, like, just the same ones again and again and again. It's always Tom and Jerry, Scooby-Doo, Batman, maybe Superman. And that's pretty much it. Like, what about the other Hanna-Barbera characters? Like, why not, like, a direct-to-DVD Yogi Bear movie, or like bring back the Flintstones or the Jetsons, or like even as they mentioned, why not more Looney Tunes movies? Like I know they got one coming soon that is like technically a Looney Tunes cartoons movie with Porky and Daffy Duck, but honestly, like why not? Like actually like use more of the Looney Tunes characters. I mean, you're freaking Warner Brothers. You got so many other properties. Find other properties to play with other than the same ones. I like, you've played with Tom and Jerry enough. All right, but if you are interested in checking out Tom and Jerry Cowboy Up, then keep in mind it will be on January 25th, 2022, that it will be coming out on both DVD and digital. All right, so with that said, it is now time that we shall go and get into, oh yes, we all know it, folks, the grand finale. And with this one over here, we're going to go into a little bit of a bonus miscellaneous, because it may not necessarily be animation, but it is a very interesting subject that a lot of people have seemed to be discussing about. Now, I know at first it seems like I'll be talking about politics again, but trust me, all my political talk, I have already used all of that onto the first story with Big Bird. But with this one, though, like, keep listening and you'll understand why I would be talking about this. And what I shall be discussing as the grand finale is related to Joe Biden's infrastructure bill. Now, one major thing that happened a few days ago, and this is considered a massive win for U.S. President Joe Biden, was that Joe was able to do something that Donald Trump couldn't throughout his entire administration, and that is to actually pass more than $1 trillion of a bipartisan infrastructure bill. And it's going to be very soon, or in fact, probably Joe Biden has officially done so. Like, I don't know, I'll have to double check. But he's actually just one step away from just signing it, and it will be official. And now the rules will be spent on where the tax and where the money is going to go in terms of like construction, the cops, medicine, doctors, education, teachers, and all that kind of stuff. Like, to really lay out a plan of where all the money is, or where all that $1 trillion is going to go. But the big thing that has people talking about, and the big reason why the internet is so, why the internet is giving a lot of attention to this infrastructure bill, other than the fact that it is a major win for Joe Biden, is because of the crypto tax. Yes, the title is exactly what you think it is. It is a tax that is specifically going towards cryptocurrencies and non-fungible tokens, or what you guys may know more as NFTs. And looking deep into my source here on CoinDesk, it actually goes deep into why this is very much talked about and what this could mean in terms of the fate of NFTs and for cryptocurrency people. And I can tell you right now, NFT fanboys, they are now scared. In fact, I would even say scared for their lives. And I'll tell you why. So just reading a bit from my source here, it states, the crypto industry was concerned about a tax reporting requirement within the bill that sought to expand the definition of a broker for IRS purposes. The reporting requirement would see all brokers report transactions under the current tax code. Industry proponents worried that the definition would be too broad, capturing entities like minors and other parties that don't actually facilitate transactions. Oh, but wait, here comes the juicy part here. It says, another provision included in the bill to amend tax code section 6050I has also stroked fear in the crypto industry. The law, written nearly 40 years ago to apply to in-person cash transactions over $10,000, essentially requires recipients to verify the sender's personal information and record their social security number, the nature of the transaction, and other information, and report the transaction to the government within 15 days. Unlike other tax code violations, violations to 6050I are a felony. And some lawyers have pointed out that applied to cryptocurrencies and other digital assets like non-fungible tokens, or NFTs, the law could be nearly impossible to comply with. So basically, to make a long story short, and to put it very simply, because of the crypto tax that is within this infrastructure bill, this could potentially mean the end of NFTs. That this is something that is considered impossible for NFTs to go and actually manage and to go and work around with. And it could pretty much mean that this could ultimately kill off NFTs, because now the IRS could consider those as real transactions, and that they'll go after NFT people to know if the deal that they have made are actually legit. And honestly, I feel like this is a thing that is just about time, considering that these NFT fanboys, they've been flaunting around that they're pretty much millionaires overnight because of all these NFT things, that eventually the government would go and take notice, and they would go and consider, okay, you want to consider it real deal as real money? Then we'll treat it as real deal and real money, and we'll have the IRS to go and consider that as real transactions. And the biggest reason why nowadays you see all these stories about NFT people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars in an instant is mainly because of how fresh and new the concept of NFTs are. How cryptocurrency is still this novel concept, and that there are barely any legitimate rules that do actually go and help regulate them so that people won't go and ultimately get screwed over with their money. And that's kind of the big thing. And debatably, the big thing with NFTs is that the foundation of cryptocurrency is all based on scams. More often than not, you would hear these stories on a regular basis on social media about how there are these stories about how some person made an NFT, people heavily invested in it, and they would get away with hundreds of millions of dollars, if not millions, just by screwing over their investors, while the people who did invest on those NFTs, they really got nothing in return. Maybe they got some crappy art of a pissed off monkey, but that's pretty much it. It really is a game where people lose more money, more so than they would gain. And the problem is with cryptocurrency is that scams and people stealing each other's money is unfortunately very common. And because of the law, and because there are barely any laws that are related to cryptocurrency, they could pretty much get away with it. Yeah, you'll see people scamming them hard, but they're allowed to do so because there are no rules that are officially established. There are no rules to go and prove that many of these are legitimate, because technically anything is pretty much legitimate in the cryptocurrency world. That's why it's kind of like the Wild West of the economy. That's how it's often viewed nowadays. But even if you don't look at the scams, if you don't look at many of the ways that investors ended up getting screwed over, there is still a massive problem when it comes to NFTs, and that is the fact that they are stupidly unstable. The whole economy, the whole economy of what cryptocurrency is based on, it's ridiculously unstable, where you hear stories about how people would become millionaires overnight, but you would also hear so many stories about how people would go from being financially stable to flat out broke, near homelessness, right in an instant. And I can tell you right now, when an economy is way too unstable, when it's dependent on a billionaire's tweet or on an influencer's tweet. You have no idea how many times I have seen people like Elon Musk, where they would go and mention some kind of cryptocurrency, whether it be in a positive or a negative way, and you would see those numbers, you would look at the chart, they would either skyrocket or they would fall down faster than the elevators in the Tower of Terror. They would go that bad. I remember there was this one dog coin that they were desperate to get some endorsement from Elon Musk. It's hey, did you get an investment from Shiba coin? And Elon Musk was there no, and that really killed the Shiba coin, or whatever it's called. It just flat out killed it off. And that's honestly the most horrifying thing, is the fact that a few popular influencers can have the power to control what's basically this economy, and they would go and they can have the power to go and either make something really powerful and make people really rich, or they can make people flat out broke just by making a single tweet. And I could say right now, there should never be an economy that is highly dependent on just a single tweet. That would just be insane, especially when there are a lot of influencers out there, and I would even throw Elon Musk in this category, that can be a little bit unstable, that they're so rich to the point that it really affected them mentally. And not only that, but there is also the factor that technically what they're invested in is just a digital image. It really is nothing more but just this digital image of an objectively bad art. And I know a lot of people might attack me for saying, or like they would call me out by saying like, Matt, that is bad of you for saying that NFT art is objectively bad art. But it really is. Like, yeah, say what you will about the art itself and how how these characters would be drawn in those NFTs. But it's really the purpose of them that makes them objectively bad. It's the fact that they're literally made for the purpose of making money. And it's because of that unapologetically soulless intention is why I feel like there is no such thing as good NFT art out there. They're all objectively bad. And on top of that, the thing is that anybody could go in and they know how to go and like make an NFT feel worthless. And I'll give you a good example. Like, just go on YouTube and you can write down NFT anything. Like, I wrote down here NFT lion, and you got a result of like all these like really weird and like uncomfortable drawings of NFT lions. And I got this one example here, like this ugly sack of crap. This one where it's like this where like you got like this lion whose mane is like rainbow colored, has dollar signs on his eyes, and has his mouth open with his tongue sticking out. So like, let's say I want to have this NFT, but I don't have to go and pay anything to get it. I could just right click it and then press save image. I could just go and do that. That way I can go and get it. Or here's another example. Here's another thing I can do. There, I just took a screenshot at it. I just took a picture, so here, let me go and get it. Yeah, it's whoops. No. Hey, get back here. No, get back here, you. So yeah, here's my image. This is the picture that I have. I could just go and here, just do a quick little edit. Here, I'll just make this little square. Then here, I could just go down so I don't need the extra things on top. Boom, and there you have it. There. Now I got this NFT. And I did it for free because I took a screenshot at it. And the funny thing is that you would go and see like these NFT people, like they would constantly attack people who would do these strategies, rather it be screenshotting, or they would go and right click to go and save it. Like you would always see them try to make these memes where they say, oh, people who right click are inferior to those who would go and fully invest in NFTs. I'm superior than you because I don't right click. I actually invest. But still though, the fact that now I own it for free, that pretty much means that this is rendered useless. In fact, like right now, if you're watching this on YouTube, feel free to go and take a screenshot at this ugly looking lion, and you can go and own it yourself. We could pretty much, like, with this video alone, we could pretty much make this NFT lion completely useless. And that's just one major example. And that shows how dangerous NFTs can be, where I could just like take this down, no problem. Like just by like anybody can have the ability of just taking any NFT that they could find on Google, and they could just go and turn that to becoming absolutely useless. So this is just to go and emphasize how dangerously unstable these NFTs can be, regardless if you're investing in them or if you want to go and make NFTs yourself. There is like, you really do lose more so than you do gain. It's way too dangerous of the type of economy that it does handle. And with this crypto tax that apparently the infrastructure bill is going to be establishing, that's when you know that things are going to be over. Now, it's not necessarily banning NFTs altogether. They're just regulating them. And I know for a fact that when you do regulate NFTs, that's when it's going to be over. And it's not going to be the fact that they're going to be regulated that is going to kill off NFTs. It's going to be the interests, because as I said before, it's debatable that that the foundation of NFTs are scams. And you know very well that those scammers, they're not going to go and let out their information to the government or to the IRS, because if they do, well, then they're going to be caught in some very serious trouble. So like right now, it's actually going to be legitimately illegal to make any form of NFT scams. And because of the fact that they're not able to make NFTs that would be more than $10,000, because if they do, then they would have to go and like report, literally give all their information to the IRS, then at that point, people will end up losing interest because it's not as much of a money-making machine as it used to be. And that's what's ultimately going to kill off. In fact, I'm just going to say right now that, like, honestly, NFTs are actually pretty lucky that they managed to survive this long, like throughout 2021. This should have been something that would have been dead on arrival, like have a few months, like be popular on social media and just be dead. It would have been like honestly, this would have been a thing that it would be like, it would be like a trend. It would be nothing more than a quick fad and that's it. But the reason why it lived as long as it did is because of mega corporations. You probably have seen across social media, corporations like McDonald's, Disney, especially, Viacom, CBS, or some video game companies, or even Warner Brothers or whatever. Like, we're starting to see these mega corporations now. They really want to get invested onto NFTs and try to put their piece onto trying to cash in on that whole trend. And that's why it's lasting longer than it should. But I'm sure with this kind of thing, this will be killed off, because it's because with that crypto tax, it would be only mega corporations that would be allowed to go and do these kinds of NFTs that would make them more than $10,000. But it's not going to be like any random dude who could create ugly drawings of monkeys, lions, and dogs that would go and actually make their own money. It's not going to be them anymore. Like right now, it's just going to be like right now, you either got to be brave enough to go and give out all your information to the IRS and to the government, or you just take the money and you run with it. That's it. But at this point, like I said, the infrastructure bill seems like it's going to become more and more and more of a reality. It's just one signature away for Joe Biden to go and make this real. And honestly, I cannot wait for this to just die off, because really, I've barely heard anything good coming from NFTs. And especially people who do get involved with NFTs, they're freaking toxic as all hell. So honestly, the sooner this thing dies out, the better, honestly. Especially not, it's not just for the environment, and it's not just to kill off it's not just to kill off a toxic community, but it's also for the sake of the people. I understand, people really want to go and have some great get rich quick schemes, and we all envision of the day that we can have enough money to be financially secure for the rest of our lives. But still, though, stuff like this is not the way to go. Stuff like this just feels like crap that's just too good to be true, and generally they are. So the sooner that we can get rid of stuff like this, the sooner we can go and actually, do it the old-fashioned way, do it the classic way, the traditional way of actually making money, which is hard work. As long as you do some legitimate hard work, then maybe you can actually go and get some cash. But I know some people might disagree with me with this, and I understand that this is a tough and difficult and complicated conversation and discussion to go and have. I get that. But still, though, if you want to go and make money, NFTs is not the way to go, and it's better off to be dead. And regardless of what you may think about Joe Biden, at least he did one good thing with getting rid of NFTs. All right, so with that said, I would like to go into the chat wall, and I would like to ask you all, how do you feel about the death of NFTs, the downfall of NFTs, or the possible downfall of NFTs? Are you guys excited for NFTs to be taken down? What are your opinions on NFTs? Let me know what you think on all this. Okay, let's see what we have here. I never trusted those gall darn NFTs, especially with their environmentally damaging effects. So this bill passing would be, oh wait, hang on, I gotta go and pee. One eternity later. Okay, I'm back. Hey, it wasn't that long, man. It wasn't that long. Don't you dare call me out on that crap, man. Don't you dare call me out. It was a real emergency. It wasn't that long. Anyways. The bill passing would be a major blessing and as the kiddos would say, a major W. But I'll miss how easily the businesses can be exploited with one magical key, the save image as key. Yes, really, it's a battle in which the right clickers saved the day. The right clickers have managed to win this war against the NFTs. Who knew? The power of freaking right clicking. I mean, seriously, what did these NFT people want? To outlaw right clicking? To make right clicking illegal? To go to Apple and to go to Microsoft and to get rid of the right click feature and to get rid of the the screenshot option? Yeah, like, hell no, man. Like, it's easier to get rid of you than to get rid of some of the most common uses of any computers. Let's see what else we have here. This one's a joke, but does cryptocurrencies mean your currency goes to the crypt? Okay, I gotta admit, man. That was funny. I gotta give props. That was actually a good joke. Anyways, I don't fully understand banks, the economy, money, or even the whole NFT thing. But the way you describe this, perhaps I could say that those bad NFT people, to quote Master Oogway from Kung Fu Panda 3, well, when will you realize the more you take, the less you have? Exactly. And now they're going to learn the hard way that, yeah, the more money they took from these NFTs, the less they will legitimately have. So yeah, all that money they got because they have like this kind of like confused, hold on a sec, they have like this confused cringy lion, or like they try to make themselves suave, or like something, or like not even having a single clue knowing what they're doing. Like with stuff like this, yeah, it's pretty much a guarantee that all these NFT people, they're gonna have less money than they do have now. Anyways, I am definitely hoping NFTs will finally end. NFTs are just nothing more than cheap scams that can allow people to scam you out of your money and can end up in the hands of scumbags, especially considering it can finally hopefully stop people from getting away with your money similar to other individuals like Butch Hardman. Yeah. Exactly, man. They're nothing but, the thing is, NFTs are just scams. And the thing is, and it's funny how NFT people are so desperate to try to be taken seriously and like try to be viewed as financial experts that the moment that they finally got their wish, and now this infrastructure bill is coming in which it will allow allow NFT people to be viewed as financial experts, now they're quickly bailing out on it. So yeah, every NFT person is just a freaking scam artist. It really does prove that. And you know, the funny thing is that even the lawyers, when they try to argue about this whole bill and the crypto tax, the funny thing is that they kind of proved how NFTs are scams. So again, just to take this quote here, they're saying that applied to cryptocurrencies and NFTs, the law could be nearly impossible to comply with. So basically, they're admitting that cryptocurrency and NFTs are nothing but scams because when put onto a legal matter, it would be impossible to do so, and they would be viewed as legitimate scams. Well, that's because they are freaking scams. Oh my god. Anyways, let's see what other comments we do have here. I don't care much about NFTs, but it should go down for once the bill has been signed by Biden. From what I've heard, that it is nothing but negative, so it's best to just let that thing die. and that's it. And hopefully it will end soon. Exactly, man. Exactly. Props to Joe Biden for the infrastructure. If it weren't for liberals, America would fall harder than it ever did. It's about time that these shady practices have been pulled the plug. These people are toxic scammers and deserve to lose all their money that they have gained. And even these stories are political. Again, remember, never stop talking about politics. Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't be surprised if there are going to be some people that will find a way to turn NFTs into politics. I mean, some have already done so. And I mean, this isn't just like a right wing or a left wing thing. Like, both sides are pretty guilty of like creating NFTs and stuff like that. But in this case here, like, I wouldn't be surprised if like running and there will be a day when like being support of NFTs will be a major political stance. Like, you're either a liberal or a conservative, depending on your viewpoint of NFTs. There will come a day it will be like that. And it will probably mean like, and I wouldn't be surprised if it would be like if NFTs would be a thing for the right, because like it would be one of those things that, because it is Joe Biden's infrastructure bill that technically did kill off NFTs, like this will be a thing that a lot of like far right people will use as retaliation against Joe Biden and get themselves involved in NFTs, which they're just going to end up hurting themselves. All right, I think I'm going to go and read one more comment here. Hallelujah! NFTs are soon to be no more. I may not know much about things like crypto and NFTs, but I do know about how people just use them to scam people out of their money and how they cause a lot of damage to the environment. Unlike those people, I plan to earn money the honest way by doing my job and having my savings account. Exactly! And King Cerulean here has the best option. He's doing the right thing. If you want to do so, then open up a tax-free savings account. Like, go and invest. Go and put your money in a place that is secure and that it could gradually grow. So, like, seriously, don't be afraid to go and talk to an accountant or a financial consultant to know where your money could go and where to safely put your money so that you can be financially secure in the future. And with that said, that should do it for this episode of AniMat's Crazy Cartoon Cast. Thank you all so much for coming to this. Man, what an explosive episode, but I definitely had a lot of fun with this. Hey, I might get in trouble with this, especially with the ways that I did call out people like the NFT fanboys and Ted Cruz, but you know what? Screw it. It was all worth it. And with that said and done, tune in next episode for more wild adventures on this podcast. So thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. And until next time, see you later, dudes.